What's up, guys? Daniel Cusin Jr. here again. Hope you guys have enjoyed the tutorial series that I've been doing for beginners. When I was fishing growing up, I didn't have a lot of people telling me how to fish or what to do other than my father. So, I picked up things here and there from different fishermen, and some things I put in the tool bag, so to speak, and others I haven't. But today I want to go over hard baits. So those are going to be like your crankbaits, your floating minnows, like the Rapala stuff you see. I showed you the floating minnow in the very first beginner series, so go back and check that out if you haven't already. But there's a variety of hard baits. You have top water, you have intermediate depth, you have so many different varieties of stuff. I'm going to be going over crankbaits to start. And I'm going to show you how you know if you're going to use a shallow diver or a medium depth diver or a deep diver. So that's very important because when you're fishing, you want to make sure that you get the right depth, because if you're fishing in a small pond or a lake, you don't want something that's digging down in the bottom unless it's like a rocky bottom, and sometimes you want the crankbait to bounce and ricochet off of the bottom, which creates a lot of strikes, especially for like smallmouth bass and even largemouth bass. So let's go start. I'm going to pull out a couple lures. We'll start with one here. We talked about this a little before in the first video. This is a shallow diver. This is a really good imitation of a golden shiner. If you can see very closely, I hope this gets it. You want a very, not a steep decline on that diver, just a very small lip. So if you see a lip like this, you know it's only going to go about a foot or less. So that's a good thing to have in shallow water. Rivers, streams, small ponds, lakes is great. And here you'll see a difference. This is a medium depth diver. I don't know if you can see it. There it is right there. Okay, as you can see, the lip protrudes down a little more. So this is going to be more of a 5 to 10 feet diver. Okay. And then you have your big old deep diver that will go straight down. As you see, the longer the lip, the more this thing will wobble down. Most of the lures that you see will have a rattle. That'll entice fish that aren't kind of wary and they don't really want to bite. It's that little extra edge that's in a lure, but not every lure has it. I'll go over to, for example, remember this guy in the first video? This is a floating minnow, okay? Same deal, shallow depth, not very deep, maybe a foot, two, depending on how fast you reel it in. If you reel it in really fast and you zip it down, the faster you go, the more it's going to come in. But this does not have, the deeper will go, I should say. This does not have a rattle, okay? Jerk bait. Remember, the more you jerk the lure in the water, it will float up to the top. So once it's floating on the bottom, you can reel it in. Okay, and then once you let it go, you stop reeling, it's going to float up. You can jerk it down, and then it's just going to go buoyant again. Similar to the floating minnow. Okay, this is a jointed one, and see that little split in between the floating minnow? It adds a lot more action to it. So this is a good, again, another shallow, remember, with that lip, another shallow diver. This is extremely good for any kind of species of fish, because remember, any wounded looking fish that looks like it's going to die, this is the thing that you want to go look for in your bag. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, now I know what to do with crankbaits, but that's not, those are the three majorities there. Your shallow diver, your medium depth, and your deep diver. But you also have a lipless crankbait, excuse me. This is a Rapala, and this has a lot of little balls in here, very loud. This is a type of bait you want to use when fish are very finicky, like largemouth bass. They're in that dormant phase where they don't want to eat a lot, and this is just something that's going to agitate them and really want, they just want to kill this thing, get out of the way more than eat it, I think, most of the times. But this is something that will dive fairly deep. Whenever you're unsure, look at the box and it will tell you exactly kind of what the depth is for this lure or whatever lure you're using. This is a really good cold weather bait from what I've noticed, and you can catch a lot of bass in the summer as well. Just very versatile bait. This comes in many sizes. This is a decent size for a larger bass, and even pike will go after this stuff. Very good lure. But as you can see, you wouldn't know the depth of that unless, let's say it's in your box or someone gave it to you. You wouldn't really know that this thing will go pretty deep, and you don't want to be snagging on the bottom. Make sure you know the structure of what you're fishing. If it's a lot of timber, you don't want to be chucking lures and losing them all day, or jagged rocks. Be aware of your surroundings and the environment that you're fishing in, okay? But remember, this doesn't have a lip either. This is a topwater frog, okay? Now this, you know it's topwater because let's look at it one more time. You see a lip there? This floats. This does not go down. This doesn't go down at all. It just maybe like centimeters under the water. But this is good for the summer. Open water, this isn't weedless, so be careful with a lure like this. I haven't had much luck with it. I'm sure other people have, but just to give you an idea of the different varieties of hard baits. And then you have your popper, or just a regular popper. This right here is called a bucktail, and this is in the water. It will actually kind of entice a fish a little bit to make that second, attempt to attack this lure. One trick with the popper, when you throw it out, you're going to see the ring from the water kind of just dissipate, because as it falls in, it creates that just kind of mini wake, I guess you could call it, once it hits the water. Typically, wait 3 seconds after this hits the water, and you'll get a lot of bites before you even try to retrieve it and reel it in. The way you want to fish these is short, snappy jerks, or pause. Short and snappy kind of retrieves, I guess, pulls. So every time this kind of goes in the water, it starts to spit the water out of this little concave area right there, and that's going to create a lot of ruckus on the top of the water. And bass typically in the summer go nuts over these, especially early in the morning. They really love these. Once the temperatures get really hot and high, they don't seem to be on the top water that much, depending on the area you're fishing. So be aware of that. Hit the whatever body of water you're fishing early with this or a frog, and you'll be good to go. Okay. Now those are the beginners right there for hard baits. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. But again, this is just a beginner's guide to kind of feeling out what do you want to use in what situation. Fishing is always situational. You're not going to use the same baits every time you go out. It could be the barometric pressure. It could be the weather. Is it really hot? Is it sunny? Are they suspended where they're like in between the middle of the water column between shallow water and deep? You really need to. The more you fish, the more you understand how fish, kind of their behavior, how they kind of, how they live, how they survive, how they eat, how they hunt. Let me show you one more thing that will be a nice little tool in your fishing bag. I'm going to pull this out. Hopefully I didn't lose it. It's pretty small. So let me go back to the floating minnow. Now, as you can see, there's no swivel here. No little, let me show it. See that little swivel? See this little swivel right here? When you tie directly to that, you won't have any issues. But if you tie directly to a floating minnow where you don't see any swivel or anything like that, this is not going to retrieve properly. You're going to see it going one direction or the other, and it's going to be really a pain in the butt, and you're going to be like, what is going on? But one way to alleviate that is something called a fast snap. Can you see that? Yep, right there. This allows you to put multiple lures and change it any time of the day. You can use any lure. You pop that on there, and then you push it, crimp it in. Now, whenever I want to try a different lure, I can just swap it out. Another thing is, see how much freedom there is in play? That means that this bait isn't going to go one way or the other. It's going to be a nice, true retrieve. Now, you can use a Rapala knot, and I think a trialing knot, or don't hold me to that. I know a Rapala knot works very well because that knot will actually have a little gap in between that has the same effect as this. So if you don't want to learn how to do a Rapala knot, just go ahead for these And I like using these fast snaps. They're really cheap, and you can switch lures without retying every time. And it really saves you time when you want to go fishing more and for longer periods. That's a nice thing. And if you don't use these snaps, just imagine it's not on there. Right where that eye is, okay, where you want to tie to, let's say you do have this fast snap on here, and let's say, or you have a Rapala knot. If you see this bait going one way or the other, you might have it bent from a previous fish or a snag, and this thing is not running true in the water. So just take some pliers and crimp it one way or the other, reel it in, and see which direction it's going. If it's going left or right, just go counter on that direction. Keep it tight, nice and narrow, and you'll be good to go. So hopefully I gave you guys some very basic tips on different styles of lures when you're starting out fishing, and just kind of like, I think anything that you take out of this video is to just try these lures, get used to them, get familiar with them, and the better you get with them, you'll know, because you'll have a fish on the other end of the line. So just be patient. I know it's very frustrating when you go fishing and you're not catching anything, and a lot of people give up right away. Don't fall into that category. Fishing's really fun. Like my dad, and I've heard a lot of other people say, sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. You have good fishing days, you have bad fishing days. And sometimes it's beyond your control. It has nothing to do with you being a good or bad fisherman or woman. So hopefully these tips work very well. Again, please, if you have any questions or comments, that's what I'm here for. Put them down below. And we're doing these every week. If you guys like what you see, please like, subscribe, follow, and share all this good stuff so I can keep pounding out more content for you. And as always, tight lines, and I'll see you guys out of the water.